Everybody, welcome back to Video Esoteric and our long-running series, the Unported Playlist, where I take a look at some of my favorite unported arcade games of all time. And today we have a Sega NAOMI 2 exclusive Soul Surfer. If you've never seen this cabinet in real life, it had like a half-size surfboard that you could stand on and surf in real time. Before we get too far involved though, do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like, subscribe, that notification bell definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, I got a Patreon link down below as well. But there weren't a ton of Sega NAOMI 2 games compared to the original NAOMI, and there's even far fewer that weren't ported home, but Soul Surfer is one of them. And why didn't it get ported? Because they didn't really have a surfboard controller you could stand on in the home. I would love to try to wire up a Wii balance board into my computer to see if I could pull it off, but for the time being it's just going to have to be controller, which does make the game ever so slightly difficult to play. But I love this game for two reasons. One, gigantic amusement cabinets were always my jam as a kid. If I saw one, I definitely wanted to put quarters in. Although this came out in 2002, so I was basically an adult at that point in time. The second reason I love this so much is because NAOMI 2 is an incredible platform that could rival and even beat what the PlayStation 2 was capable of, and it should have been Sega's next home console after the Dreamcast, because this is basically a super powerful Dreamcast or a more powerful NAOMI. But the game is so simple at face value, but it is the timing that's the complexity that makes you want to keep coming back more and more. There's certain different tricks you can pull off, and you can do these slashes at the top of the wave. Maybe they're not called slashes in surfing, they are in skiing, that's what I know them as, and that's what they're going to call them. But leave me a comment down below and tell me if you know about surfing. I'd be curious to hear what the tricks are actually called. But basically the entire point is in each stage you have a goal that you need to beat. You need so many points to move on to the next stage, and it's usually easy for the first two and then becomes incredibly difficult at the last stage. And I love these little animations as well as you go from one area to the other, moving on to Polynesia. I just kind of love that travelogue look of the globe spinning around as that plane comes in. And this was an impressive game for 2002. The water physics are some of the best things you're going to see for that era, and you could just tell that NAOMI 2 had a lot of horsepower. But in between stages you're going to get little tutorials and telling you what to do, and you have to ride in this tube for as long as possible, and that's going to help you get over that 12,000 point mark, because the points go up a lot. But I just love how this looks, that curling wave. For 2002, this was hyper impressive, and if you've never seen a cabinet in real life, standing on that surfboard and leaning back and forth to try to pull off those tricks was a ton of fun. But as we get into that rip curl there, you do need to jump over stuff like boats, or in my instance, you need to run directly into them. But we did get a decent enough score there that we are in a decent shape. You want to collect the medals, you want to have that tube ride for as long as possible. The longer you're in there, the more multiplier you get, and you'll see it's a 4x combo. So collecting those coins is going to be of huge importance. Without them, you basically can't get to the next stage. But it's just a fun game, and I miss this era of arcade games, these gigantic cabinets that basically let you pretend you were actually surfing. They existed for skateboarding, snowboarding, skiing, and surfing, and Sega made some of the best ones. I just can't figure out how to get over that ship. And that is down to the fact that even though you can play these games at home, it is much more difficult with a controller because it's how they were never designed to be played. But I got that tube ride in, and that's going to push me over the score limit to be able to see the next stage. Even if I just keep driving this guy into those pylons for the pier there, he definitely would not be getting up after that. But good thing it's a video game and not real life. I don't have to worry about concussions. But the stage is clear and we can move on. And this is just a fun game to play. It's a fun game to check out for 10 to 15 minutes to see what home consoles would have been like if Sega continued on in the hardware business, because I still do think that for the most part, NAOMI 2 just looks better than PlayStation 2. And don't call me a Sega fanboy, I have a massive PlayStation 2 library. I love the console when it came out. I have 3 different PlayStation 2s in my collection because I do love it that much. It just makes me wish that NAOMI 2 had turned into Dreamcast 2. But the game has a really fun soundtrack as well, so go ahead and listen for like 45 seconds, and I'll come back and talk more about the history of Soul Surfer. But enjoy! I mean, it's kind of exactly the music you would expect of a 2002 era sports game, but it does work for it. And it does have some nice sound effects as well, even though I've never surfed in my life, so I have no idea what it sounds like. For some strange reason, even though I'm a very strong swimmer, I have a fear of drowning, and that means that I don't go out too far in the ocean. But maybe that's just me. Lakes never do it to me, but the ocean just kind of freaks me out. But back to the game and less about my fears, you're going to see that we did not quite get through this stage here. The third stage in each mode, either easy or hard, is incredibly difficult. You basically need to be playing perfectly. But let's move on to a different character and a different set of stages, because there are two. You have 4 characters to choose from, and as far as I can tell, they don't really seem to do anything. It's not like they have a stat screen here. Maybe they're just for appearance, but you have easy and you have hard. So let's move over to Australia and see what's going on over here. And you'll see right off the top we need 10,000 points to get past now, compared to the like 3,000 we needed on the easy stage. So right off the bat, it is much harder. But again, it's just such a good looking game. It makes me happy to play it. It's like playing Wave Race 64, except it looks a lot better. And of course, you're not racing opponents, you're just surfing. I wish I could figure out some of the more difficult tricks. It's basically flicking the analog in certain different directions to be able to perform those things. But it works so much better when you were standing on that surfboard on the cabinet. And if you do know of a cabinet that's still in existence, leave me a comment down below and tell me where you know where it is, because I love arcade cabinet spotting on these rare amusement videos, because inevitably 1 or 2 people are going to say, oh, it's only 10 minutes from my house, I saw it last week. I love knowing that they still exist out there, because these cabinets always got beat on. Human beings were standing on the controllers, human beings of all sizes and shapes and weights, and they were not going easy on them. Imagine how many of them broke, and if they weren't the biggest money makers, they probably just replaced it on the arcade floor with something that was a lot more durable and made them more money. And that's why the amusement style cabinet with the big controls is one that's becoming extinct. You can get this on NAOMI too, and you could probably try to wire up some controls, and maybe one day I will do that. But for the meantime, being able to emulate it keeps it available to people to play from a historical standpoint. And if you really practice with the analog stick, you can get better at the game, and that's always fun. But you'll see I got about 14,000 points there, so I am able to move on to the next stage, even though my rank was a D. It doesn't really matter what the rank is, just want to see more of the game. But this was classic Sega. They did these sort of things all the time. You'd walk into an arcade, and this is the type of game that would cost like $2 just to play, but you knew you had to experience it. It was big, it was loud, it was huge, and you wanted to see what they were doing with it. And it is just such a pretty game, and it just really makes me wonder what would have happened if Sega released a Dreamcast 2 with a NAOMI 2 spec, even if it was slightly cut down. Because this is a big graphical leap, and I still do think it looks better than PlayStation 2. Although they totally could have ported this to the PlayStation 2 once they went multi-platform, or even the GameCube, and if they had just transposed it to controllers, I would 100% understand how to play the game. Not sure if it's a licensing issue with the actual surf brands, or what's going on, but you see I got an S tier there off that vertical off the lip, but if you're too late, you basically just fly into the air, Superman, and smack your head right into that water. But that's Soul Surfer. It's one of those rare NAOMI 2 games that does not have a home console port, and there weren't a ton of NAOMI 2 games in the first place. But short of that, I will have another video next Monday on another unported arcade game. I'll have videos for the week as well. But Soul Surfer is a fun historical look at Sega and their last in-house developed 3D hardware, because after NAOMI 2, they would go on to using other people's hardware and using PC parts. So this is basically the end of the lineage of Sega custom hardware for the home or for arcades. But leave me that comment down below. If you know where there's a cabinet, tell me where it is. If it's close enough to Chicago, maybe I'll even drive and check it out. Short of that, I'll see you guys next time, and I hope you enjoyed the video, but my time is up. Bye-bye.